All right. Um, Good evening and welcome to the January 26th um, Select Board meeting for the town of Holliston. We are obviously meeting remotely thanks to a few flakes of snow. So I hope everybody's safe and staying warm out there. Before we get started, because this is a remote um, meeting, I will be reading the intro from for remote meetings. So, pursuant to the governor's March 31st, 2025 act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, paragraph 20, the select board will be using remote participation for this meeting. The audio of this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the town's webpage as soon as possible in accordance with keeping the public informed of actions during this meeting. At this time, a roll call of attendance will be taken. Tina Hine,
Here, yes.
Damon Dimmick,
Present.
and I am Ben Sparrow, and I am here. And just a reminder that all votes this evening will be via roll call. So we'll get started on our agenda. The first item on our agenda is a discussion with Kerry Irons and the Adventure Cycling Association regarding the designation of the rail trail as part of US Bike Route 1. So Frank's going to give us a little bit of information. I'm going to do things a little bit differently because we're remote, just to make sure that everybody's, we're not talking over each other. So if the rest of my board is okay, I'm going to just, we're going to talk one at a time instead of just sort of letting it be more of an open conversation as we would in person, just to make it a little bit to facilitate things. And I'll just make sure that both of you have an opportunity to chime in after the presentation. I know Robert and Kerry are here. Robert Wideneck from the trails. I believe Frank is sharing. So, Frank, if you just give us a quick primer on what we're looking at here, and
Sure.
then we can let Robert or Kerry kind of kick us off with the presentation, and I'm sure there might be a few questions from the board. So, go ahead, Frank.
Sure, absolutely. So, Kerry Irons had approached the town. This was probably sometime fall-ish, maybe late fall of 2025, about designating parts of the rail trail as part of the newly established or in the process of establishing US Bike Route 1, which is, it sounds very interesting. When Tina and Robert Wideneck and I met with Kerry, again, I think that was in the late fall. Relatively low lift here from Holliston's perspective, but an exciting opportunity to be part of a new route that is basically parts, and Kerry can correct me where I'm wrong here, but it's basically going to be designating parts of the East Coast Greenway as part of the new US Bike Route 1. And the rail trail was already part of that. So again, relatively low lift, but an exciting opportunity. Could mean new folks traveling on the rail trail through town. But Kerry Irons is here, as you said, Ben, as is Robert Wideneck. So Kerry, I'll hand it off to you. I've got the slides up and running, so as you want me to proceed, I can do that for you if that's easiest.
Can we make sure that Kerry and Robert can unmute? There we go. There you are, Kerry.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that, Kerry.
No problem. Actually, good meeting procedure on your part, collectively. So yeah, I'll quickly go through this presentation. So this is about building bicycle tourism using the U.S. bike route system. This is a federally recognized network of bike routes across state routes, road, streets, and trails, designated by AASHTO and state DOTs. Next slide. So each state DOT can submit to AASHTO, the American Association of State Highway Transportation Officials, to designate a piece of a U.S. bike route in their neck of the woods. I'm with the Adventure Cycling Association. We serve as the technical support organization to the AASHTO and the DOTs for U.S. bike route development. Next slide. And so just quickly, adventure cycling, we're all about bicycle travel. Our mission is to inspire, empower, and connect people to travel by bikes. We have a closer to 50,000 mile mapped route network that we have. We sell maps, we run organized tours, we have a magazine, we do national advocacy, and parts of the route network, just like the East Coast Greenway, provided a blueprint for the first U.S. bike routes. Next slide. So this is the National Corridor Plan. The solid lines are already designated, 35 states plus the District of Columbia. It's actually just over 24,000 miles now. And the dashed lines are the proposed routes, and the solid lines are existing ones. And you can see in eastern Massachusetts, there's a combination of solid and dashed. Next slide. So just a quick history, if you can toggle through this. The original U.S. bike routes were first designated in 1982, and the system went dormant. But in 2004, AASHTO restarted the project. Adventure Cycling joined, East Coast Greenway joined, Mississippi River Trail joined, a number of key state DOTs joined. Keep going, please. And we've been working with it ever since. So actually, we're in the 21st year of supporting this. Next slide. And in 2008, the corridor plan, which I just showed you, was approved, and the first new routes since 1982 were designated in 2011. Next slide. And just quickly, so there's already 38 miles on trails designated in Massachusetts, and 66 miles of U.S. Bike Route 7 was designated. That runs along the east side of the west side of the state on the western New England Greenway. Next slide, please. So there's 35 pavement owners along this route, basically connecting New Hampshire to Rhode Island. Each agency must tell MassDOT that they support designation in order for MassDOT to do this. And Adventure Cycling Volunteers, which is essentially me, are doing the outreach with the support from Mass Bike and the East Coast Greenway. Next slide, please. So what's needed in Holliston, toggle through, please. Basically co-designating the East Coast Greenway, and it's using the Upper Charles River Trail from Whitney Street in Sherburne through Holliston into Mount Pleasant Street in Milford. Next slide, please. And here's a map, and I think you all know where the trail is, and you can see where it cuts through. So this is all off-road in this section. Parts of the route are on trails, and parts of the route are on streets and roads, but the section through Holliston is all on the trail. Next slide. And that, by the way, that map, you can click on that link and zoom in and look at any level of detail you want. You can see the whole route and so on. So MassDOT needs a letter of support or a support resolution from Holliston. If there's any changes to be made, I can't imagine what they would be in this case, but local agencies are the ones who determine the final route. And so in some cases, we have made changes. There's no cost, no requirements, no constraints placed on local agencies. This is just a mapping project. So the people who want to do long distance bicycle travel, days, weeks, months, can find a route. Currently, US Bike Route 1 is done in Maine and New Hampshire, in Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. And the eventual connection will be Bar Harbor, Maine to Key West. Next slide, please. And so why would we do this? Well, it's already in fair amount of use, both in terms of local users and East Coast Greenway users. This provides another level of recognition. The East Coast Greenway already has an agreement with Holliston for the use of the trail, but this would then provide federal recognition of the route. Obviously, improved routes for bicycle travelers, so they don't have to spend their own time trying to figure out how to do this. Positive health and environmental impacts of low-impact tourism. And for smaller communities, that campground, that bike shop, that restaurant, that small motel, they will see that bicycle tourism opportunity as significant in small communities. And next slide. And I think that's the end. So there's my contact information, my cell phone number, my landline, my email address. Any questions? And maybe Robert wants to chime in at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, Robert, anything to add? And if can Robert, you can unmute, right?
Nancy, could we allow Robert Weindeck to unmute, please? Yeah, I can do it.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay.
There we go. Thank
I
you.
don't have a lot to add. It's just I think it's a great opportunity having traveled in European designated bikeways. I think it's with organized groups. I think it's a great thing to hopefully one day see these organized groups go through our town as well. So I think it's a great opportunity. Hope to bring more tourism to the town and obviously the economic benefits of it. And like I say, or Carrie had mentioned, it is not any cost to the town to do this. It's just a designated process. Thank you, Carrie, for doing that.
Sure. Any questions from the select board? I guess that's the key point.
Yes, I'll have a couple and then I'll open it up to the rest of the board. But first I'll say thank you both very much for your leadership on this. I think this is a great thing. We've always seen so many wonderful improvements from the rail trail, and it's really become a major asset to the town. And we're very grateful and appreciative for all the work that, Robert, you've done for this, and then certainly Carrie, your contributions at this time is it's a pretty cool thing. I have two questions to start. I'm sure there'll be others. The first one is this kind of a one and done thing? Like we kind of do this once and we don't have to re-up this vote or anything like that. Once we kind of do it and we're part of this process, it's kind of there for perpetuity. Is that kind of the intent? Unless something changes, of course, that we need to chime in.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary of it. If you think about a federal highway, once it's designated, unless something significant changes, that federal highway is there. And this AASHTO is the same body that recognizes federal highways and interstates. So yeah, there's no further action except perhaps, and I know there's trail building activities across the state. So as those get added, the route will jump off of roads and streets onto trails. But since it's already on a trail through Holliston, I wouldn't expect any changes down the road.
Okay. My second question here is that, we certainly, you mentioned that it's a mapping project. So it sounds like, there's certainly like from your perspective and biking, there's maps there. Is there opportunities or capacity for sort of another side, like if local businesses that are nearby want to include some information about this? Is there like ways that they can either have like a printout or certainly like links to the website if they're near the trail?
Yeah, so I don't know what MassDOT has done with the existing U.S. bike routes in Massachusetts, but they do host maps on their website, and we Adventure Cycling host maps on our website. And those maps are downloadable, and we can put what we call points of interest on those maps that would list features that might be of interest off the trail for cyclists, where the services might be, where a bike shop might be, etc. One cautionary point there, though, is Adventure Cycling sells maps with all that kind of information on it. That's why we charge for the maps, because it costs a lot of money to generate that kind of information. And I have worked with those maps, keeping that kind of information updated, and it is amazing how frequently businesses turn over, if you will, close, open, etc. So that's a separate activity. But if the town, for example, wanted to keep in touch, we can put those points of interest on the map so that when somebody downloads it, they'll see, over there there's this, and over there's that. And if I want to find a bike shop, I can go here. And if I need a campground or a motel or provisions, etc., I can go there. So we can add that kind of information to the map. And certainly, once it's recognized as U.S. Bike Route 1, it could be signed. That's a separate project, and funds would have to be found and so on. But even beyond that, and I don't know how much of this has been done already, Robert could probably comment, but certainly wayfinding signage can be put on the trail saying, hey, go this way, go that way, to find whatever resource there might be available.
Yeah, and I know there's some of that we have already, and we certainly have the sign in Blair Square, that the electronic sign that we should make sure that's updated. And once we have an economic development coordinator, I'm sure we can work with them to try to make sure that local businesses can be brought into the fray and included in this process as well. No, that's great that we can do stuff like that. So I'll turn it over to the rest of my board and see if they have any questions. Tina, do you have any questions or comments at this time?
Yeah, comment and just a couple quick questions. I mean, this is all about vision. Adventure cycling has had a long, strong vision here, as has Robert Wideneck and the Holliston Trails Committee. So very happy to be a part of seeing this vision advanced in this way. So this is great progress here. Carrie, real quick, U.S. Bike Route number 1, does it need to be ADA accessible? We are. It's not an issue here in Holliston. I'm just curious whether the entire route, if that's something that this designation has that goes along with it.
No, it does not.
Okay.
The target audience is, again, experienced long distance bicycle travelers.
Okay.
And trails are one thing, but roads and streets are completely, from an ADA standpoint,
Yep.
As they say, a horse of a different color. But no, again, when AASHTO put this program together, they made sure that there would be no requirements placed on local agencies, and that would be a requirement, perhaps very desirable one, but it would add cost, and in many cases that would be an ultimate barrier to getting this done. So,
okay,
yeah.
Okay, and then is the Upper Charles Trail in Milford, Massachusetts, a part of this already? Are they already on? They're just adjacent. Yeah. So if you continue west, you're on the Milford section.
Yes, and I'm working with the town administrator in Milford in communication with him as we go.
And then last, thank you, Carrie. This is for Frank and Cheryl, who I see on the call. Good evening, Cheryl. Just wanted to say that we work with Visit Metro West. It's a visitors bureau to promote local tourism. So either through our new assistant town manager or through our soon-to-be new economic development coordinator, if we can collaborate with Visit Metro West, they do a lot of promotion for the benefit of local tourism. So would love to get them tied into this development so that they can broadcast it out. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, and a key point there. So Holliston approves this. It's not a U.S. bike route yet.
Sure.
So it's only a U.S. bike route when MassDOT gets all the approvals together and submits the application to AASHTO. I was hoping to get it done this spring, but there's been a couple of, slow responses, shall we say. So it's possible that it'll get done this spring, but it's right now, I'd say, limited probability. So it probably, we'll probably get it done in the fall. And then once that's done, there'll be press releases and so on and can take it from there. But it is not a U.S. bike route until AASHTO receives and approves an application from MassDOT.
Carrie, will you be our point of contact there in terms of a press release?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Tina, you all set?
I have a quick question. For those places that have already put this through, are there best practices in terms of actually putting wayfinding signs up, just letting people know they are on Route 1, et cetera? Or do you imagine that would be something that would be done in the future?
Well, Adventure Cycling actually has funded a couple of best practices guides that if you guys are interested in, I can share. It tends to be a fairly high level thing, but there's some really good examples. But wayfinding signage, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the manual on uniform traffic control devices, the MUTCD. Robert would be. So that's a federal document from the Federal Highway Administration that prescribes this is what a U.S. highway sign looks like. This is what an interstate highway sign looks like. This is what a state highway sign looks like. This is why we say we don't say dead end anymore. We say no outlet because somebody decided dead end had negative connotations. But the MUTCD has all that information. There's a whole separate chapter on bicycle stuff, and they have examples of all kinds of wayfinding signage and the right way to do that.
Great. Thank you for that. I'm very supportive.
Great. I think we're all in agreement here. I think this is a great opportunity for the town, and we're eager to support this exercise. I think at this time we can have a vote to designate the rail trail as part of US Bike Route 1. Is there a specific language we need to use, or is that sufficient?
I've provided Frank with samples of a resolution because MassDOT wants to see, well, in this case, it's just the Upper Charles Trail, but they want to see that either by this passing a resolution, or you could pass a resolution that authorizes Frank to send a letter, and I've sent him text of a sample letter as well. So either one of those works. But MassDOT needs to see something concrete in that respect.
So we could authorize Frank to draft a letter to in support of and sign it for the town to MassDOT. So I think that makes sense to me. Tina, Damon, you?
I have a motion ready to go if that's what you like.
Yep. Yes, please.
Okay. I move to authorize Frank Gervasio, town manager for the town of Holliston, to notify Mass DOT, Department of Transportation, that the town of Holliston would like to designate the Upper Charles Rail Trail to be co-designated US Bike Route number 1.
Seconded.
I would add to that not just to notify them, but to draft a letter in notification.
As amended.
Like a formal letter. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah.
Right.
And seconded as amended.
Excellent. We'll do a roll call vote. Tina?
Yes.
Damon?
Yes.
And I vote yes. And if there's anything further that we need to do to show support for this, we'll put it on a future agenda. But Robert, thanks for your leadership again on all these things with the rail trail. And Carrie, we appreciate your time and your help with this. And I think this is a great thing. And we wish you luck. And if there's anything we can do to support it, with other towns, anything we can do on the other side of things, let us know. And we'll be happy to lend any support, sign a letter, whatever it needs to be, if that could help too.
Just adding your name to the list is one more brick in the wall that I can share with other agencies along the way and say, hey, all these people are on board. Train's leaving, jump on. and Frank, if you need any help, let me know. But when you get the letter drafted, send it to Pete Sutton and copy me, please.
Absolutely.
Sounds great. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Right. Have a good night.
Good night.
All right. We're going to be moving on to talk a little bit about the May 2026 annual town meeting that we're getting ready for in May. The warrant is still open for town meeting. Have we gotten any citizen petitions or anybody take anything out yet, Frank? Do you know?
None yet. No, that's as of Thursday, I believe.
All right. I know it's still early, but every once in a while somebody takes something out and says we're thinking about something. So just curious there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the big news that we want to discuss is that we've closed. I believe you have all the department requests that are submitting to the select board at this time. Frank, is that accurate?
Yep, I have a couple of quick slides. If that's okay with you, I can just run through them.
Let's do it.
And I apologize, they're not very well.
It's early.
Formatted, but I'm more spreadsheet than
PowerPoint. I know the feeling. Sometimes that motion from Excel to PowerPoint can be a little bit of a challenge.
So
if you can just make them a little bit bigger so we can perfect. Thank you.
Is that good?
Yep. Perfect.
Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about where we are on the budget process, specifically where it relates to sort of non-school department municipal budgets. So this would include budgets like the Board of Assessors and the Board of Health, as I've been in contact with them as well about their request for fiscal year 2027. But this would not include things like health insurance or pension, OPEB, that type of stuff. This is operating budgets outside of the school department. So throughout the month of December, I've sat down with most department heads individually and try to go through the ins and outs of their individual budgets. I think that was a good exercise for me, just, in my first budget process with the town, just trying to learn about, what the ins and outs are, what do the individual line items represent. A lot of them, as you all know, probably are, a lot of the line items are fairly generic, or their titles are fairly generic. So just trying to get a better understanding of what we're actually spending money on. We left each of those conversations with the understanding that requests would be due back January 16th. So again, the Board of Assessors, Board of Health, and those others, Planning Board, have all officially voted on theirs, library trustees. So I have all those as of last Friday, or 2 Fridays ago, I guess, at this point.
Parks too.
Parks and Recreation as well, yes. So the total requested increase in those departmental requests for fiscal year 27 totaled just over $930,000. And for the most part, they're level service requests. No major new asks, but some of the costs associated with providing the services that the town and residents have prioritized are just going up. So
Does this include benefits and debt payments and things like that too?
It does not. No, this is just departmental operating budgets. But I'll talk about those other costs in a moment. So those requests came in at about $930,000. Right now, it's looking like we'll have about $650,000 or $750,000 available for operating budget adjustments for fiscal year 27. So obviously some work to do there. That 650 to 750 range compares to 612 for the fiscal year 26 budget. So
what does that work out for, like a percentage increase?
It's about 3. I can tell you right now. It is. So a $700,000 increase would be about a 4.5%. So just going to provide a little bit more detail on what is behind that $930,000. So of that 930, about 623 is salary adjustments. So you can see those top 2 lines there make up the lion's share of that. So ambulance staffing at about $188,000 increase. The big shift there
Frank,
is
you stopped sharing. So if you
oh
could
my gosh, that's
reshare.
really embarrassing. Only
No,
6 years into using Zoom and still can't do it. Okay, so the big drivers behind the salary increases requested of $623,000. The first is just about $189,000 increase in ambulance staffing. That is, I apologize for all the noise. That is due to the increase in our ambulance staffing requirements as part of our ALS licensure. So beginning in October, we'll be required to have a 15% increase in our ambulance staffing. Then it amounts to about the $190,000 that you're seeing on the screen there. We're targeting a 2% COLA for non-union personnel. That's about $112,000. Our CBA obligations, you can see them for DPW and police, $57,000 and $74,000 roughly for DPW and police respectively. The only real new ask in here is about $18,000 for additional hours for our assistant building inspector. That position is currently budgeted for 27 hours, and we've talked about building that up to 35, given the increase in activity that office has seen, a lot of which is stemming from the state legislation basically allowing for more flexibility in the development of housing and expected development that we're anticipating seeing in the coming years. A number of 40Bs in town, obviously, that are currently proposed. So that was sort of the one new staffing request, even though it's not a new body, it's just adding hours to an existing part-time position, or excuse me, well, yeah, he is part-time, but more than 19 hours, so a fully benefit position. This one, the next one is election worker, so this is just a cyclical thing. Next year is going to be a busy election season, whereas the current and previous fiscal year, or excuse me, the current previous fiscal years were not. So we're seeing an uptick there. Given where the town engineer hiring was delayed, just given where we were HR-wise, we'll look to use the salary, or excuse me, we'll look to use the appropriation from the Programmatic Stabilization Fund for part of fiscal 26 and part of fiscal 27. So right now we're looking at a fiscal 27 impact of roughly $23,000. Some of that impact will also be felt by the water enterprise as well, I think, as was previously discussed. And this other category is primarily made up of non-CBA steps, excuse me. So you think of our, town hall and library, Parks and Rec, family and youth services, all those types of personnel that just get their normal steps annually. That amounts to roughly $95,000. Any questions on that? Okay.
Well, Tina has her hand up.
Yeah, Frank, real quick, with the town engineer.
Yep.
So we're looking in FY27 to move into the operating budget, plus or minus a quarter of that salary. As you mentioned, the remaining amounts covered through the Programmatic Stabilization Fund from the appropriation at town meeting. So I'm just confirming that FY27 is pulling into the operating budget a portion of that town engineer salary.
Yes, we could have the option of moving that out if the board so choose. But yes, that would be if we wanted to start. I think I'm targeting an April hire with Cheryl coming on board. And just for the record, Cheryl's here on her own will. She was not asked to join before her start date. But given when she'll be on board, I think it's a reasonable timeline. So that
Great.
would be the impact for fiscal year 27.
Okay, I have no issue with that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I think the salary that we were targeting was about 115-ish, just based on where we were looking at the market data in similar towns. Okay. I think the total appropriation was 135 out of the Programmatic Stabilization Fund, but we figured there might be some sort of operating expenditures, and we want to leave a little wiggle room just in case.
Sure. Okay.
Any other questions on the salary figures? So the remainder of that 930, how do I get that, is made up of operational requests. So the biggest one obviously is our regional dispatch. So this is the first year that we'll be making a out-of-pocket, financial contribution to the rec. This year we are at 161,000. That'll increase to about 175 next year, I think it is. The rest of the requested increases are fairly small compared to the 161. Not all of them are on here, just because some of them are a couple thousand here, a couple thousand there. But I'm happy to provide that detail offline for now. But just running through some of the other ones: 63,000 increase for highway operations, technology and software licenses, about 23,000. Library operations, 12,000. That's a little bit of a tricky one because you really want to make sure that you're keeping your library budget well funded and having somewhat of an increase so that we remain eligible for grant funding. So not a huge surprise there. Elections, again, a cyclical thing. We'll see an upswing in activity next fiscal year. And a CAMA software CAMA software upgrade requested from the Board of Assessors. Our current software has just proven not to be very adequate. It's given us a lot of trouble, especially during billing cycles. This most recent December, and I've heard that was not the first time. But again, that's fairly small compared to the regional dispatchers, what obviously stands out there. Any questions on the operating requests?
The regional dispatch, are we at 50% with this, or is it 25? I forget.
I believe it goes 50, 75, 100.
Okay. So this is a 50.
Yep.
Okay. And sorry, you might have said it, but what exactly is the highway operations, the 63? Okay.
Roughly, mostly building maintenance, and is a small portion of that. 50,000 or so is road work. I forget the technical line item for it, but it's the sort of capital.
Yeah, there's a capital line in the highway budget. Okay.
Sorry, I forget the name of the line item.
No worries. There's a million of them. We'll go through the details. I just was wondering if there was more
Yep.
information there. I think we're good.
Just quickly, next steps. As I outlined, the requests are not in line right now with what we expect to have available to spend, so we'll need to find a good deal of savings on the town side. Has nothing to do with the schools. We are hoping to hear final rates from the GIC for health insurance in February. So there's a lot of activity at the GIC right now that will impact, obviously, what's going to be available for all departments, school, town, and otherwise, to spend. To get sort of into the weeds, and I'm happy to draw it back a little bit, and Cheryl, I'm sure, can talk a lot about this too. The biggest topic right now in I think the municipal healthcare landscape is coverage of GLP-1s. And so the GIC is weighing right now whether or not to eliminate coverage for GLP-1s. They're also weighing keeping the coverage that they have, and they're also weighing other plan design changes as well. So we could see rate increases of close to 13%, or based on what they decide to do at their first meeting in February, we might see rate increases of closer to 4%. And so in a budget of $5 million, even the tiniest of swing there makes a huge difference. So we'll be watching that very closely. They've met monthly. They always meet monthly, and we've been keeping close tabs on those meetings. But they'll meet twice in February. At their first meeting in the second week of February, they'll make a decision on the plan design changes, including potentially on GLP-1s. And then in the last meeting of February, which is the last week of February, they'll announce their full rate structure for fiscal year 2027. So that's a big one. And so after that, I'll have the town manager budget presented for February 28th, which I think is the date that the select board was targeting for its budget review. The finance committee is going to begin their departmental reviews next week, beginning with those sort of non-select board departments, Board of Health, Planning Board, Parks and Rec, and so on. And then obviously we're all working towards town meeting on May 11th. So happy to provide any additional information on these budgets or the sort of benefit and other related budgets. But like I said, we're still waiting on the GIC's info for a little bit more clarity, because it's a wide range of potential increases that we can see.
Are these department budgets, are each of the write-ups and the information from each of the departments available like in a Google Drive for us to review?
I can put them there, absolutely. If you want to start reviewing those, then yes, I can absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. Then we can start going through them and have a little bit of preliminary insights before we get to the end of February. And I see Tina has a question as well.
Yeah, a question and a request. The 95,800 non-CBA salary piece that you had on slide 2, I think, does that include merit increases for department heads?
No, so that is the other piece that I was going to mention. We haven't fully fleshed out the merit total just yet. Okay. Right now, I'm actually targeting 2% merit, which would be about $42,000, and that would obviously tick up the departmental request to about 970, I guess. But I didn't think it fair to include that in a departmental request, given that no department. Well, I guess I am a department, but I didn't want to make the number seem larger than it actually was.
Okay, understood.
Again, this is a level service budget, so I was trying to emphasize that there's no real extras asked for.
Got it. Thank you. And then the request would be whether, perhaps this has already happened, but to Ben's comment about making it available in a Google Drive, have you considered a letter out to department heads in terms of summarizing the level 1 budget where it stands today? I understand the GIC component is a big variable that will ultimately affect many decisions down the road. But I guess my request would be, could we send out a letter to department heads with a summary of the level 1 and sort of where things are looking? You've got the information on the slides here. It's great to see, Frank. So thank you for presenting that. And I wonder if this slideshow presentation could be put into a letter summarizing where we are and sent out to department heads. I see a value in that, and perhaps you've already done it. So forgive me if I'm asking you to do something you've already taken care of, but it feels like a value add for department heads, but just something for you to consider.
Yes, so I had planned on maybe doing a little bit of a deeper presentation than this at our February 4th department head meeting.
Okay, yep.
So I was going to plan on distributing all of that at that time.
My only thought
So
there
yes,
would be that it will already have been reviewed by the finance committee. So perhaps there's a benefit to department heads getting the information ahead of
sure.
the finance committee meeting. It's not a major thing. I would just point that out, just timeline wise. Okay, thank
Perfect. Yeah, I can
Damon,
even get
do
it
you have
out.
any
Yeah,
comments here?
it's not particular to this because I understand that things change on a year-to-year basis. But Frank, is there a way to pull any kind of data to kind of get to analyze Holliston's year-over-year municipal spending growth adjusted for inflation and compare it to the trend in like peer municipalities over a long period of time? Because one would think that statistically these would graph pretty similarly because, over 10, 15 years, the same kinds of issues would come up. I'm just kind of curious about that. I feel like that would be an interesting piece of data to have for us to think about. I don't want to make homework. We can do that on the back burner, but it's just something I think about a bit.
Yeah, you certainly can. The easiest way to do it would probably be to use the data that each municipality self-reports to the state.
Yep,
and then, we could just sort of backtrack the inflation numbers from there. Sometimes you have to worry about is this really apples to apples? But I think it's probably the best
I expect it's not
do.
fully apples to apples. I'm just hoping general fruit to general fruit.
Sure. I love fruit. We could certainly do that. And we could probably target our neighboring communities, and then I have a list of other ones that are more similar to us just based on socioeconomics or other financial conditions, like more municipal finance conditions, not population financial conditions.
Yeah, absolutely.
We could definitely get that going.
Yeah, we can figure that out, and then if it's interesting, we can always bring it to folks to consider. But I'm just more curious about growth.
Sure.
All right. Frank, thank you. Appreciate the little bit about the department budgets. If we could try to get that up on a Google Drive, I think that would be great. So we could start to review and look at those. And then I think next we're going to talk a little bit about the town meeting warrant articles. And if we kind of have a preliminary list at this point that we can just kind of run through to sort of see like what's out there. And obviously this is a preliminary list. This is not the list of how it's going to look in the warrant, but it's just kind of like what's there.
Yes. So let me share this. Okay. All right. I apologize. I know this is a little small.
It's okay.
I'll focus in on the.
It's more just sort of to walk through like what's out there more than the summaries, especially for the stuff that we've already. There's a bunch of stuff that's already like we don't need to go through like some of these things that are already like commonplace and boilerplate stuff we do every May.
Right. Right. So that's basically the first 7. Other than I will note that I added a report of the school committee towards the top, just because Ben, you had mentioned it at our last meeting.
They haven't officially like said anything about it. They seemed interested when I talked to them, and I think given a new superintendent and given an MSBA process, I think it might behoove them to be a part of, have some level of presentation at town meeting.
Totally. Okay, these next handful are all from the Board of Assessors. Right now, they're weighing a number of different exemptions or adjustments to exemptions that the town already offers, most of which might allow for certain exemptions to be adjusted by inflation moving forward, both for seniors and for veterans. I've spoken to Kevin Runnan about a number of these. I think it would probably be a good idea towards the beginning of March, maybe even that March 9th meeting, when the warrant formally closes, to have the Board of Assessors come and talk about a number of these. Mm-hmm. But that's the basic gist of it. Is they're weighing different exemptions or new exemptions or adjustments to existing exemptions that the town already offers, basically to offer the most relief possible to seniors and veterans. Tina?
Gotcha. So when we say adjust or add, we're talking about either changes or new exemptions. These aren't just change; they're not the we've already done before, just carried over to this
Right.
particular one.
So for this one, this 41C exemption, we currently offer that. It's $1,000 exemption. And my understanding is that with this new add-on, basically there'd be a cost of living increase added to that $1,000 annually. So it wouldn't be a flat $1,000 anymore. It would sort of adjust each year based on I'm assuming it's an inflation-based index.
Yeah, and we like, you don't have to. I mean, if these are the assessors, I don't think you have to present every one of these. We can get into the details of how these are implemented and paid for and such when we talk to the assessors in March.
Sure.
Tina, do you have a
Tina, do
question?
you have a question on these?
Yeah, and perhaps you're going to, I don't want you to move on from the Board of Assessors. I'm looking at number 14. Which is,
Well, let's go through the assessor. Okay, yeah, we can look at that one. Yeah.
Oh, I
Okay.
can wait then. I can lower my hand and wait.
No, it's fine. I didn't realize it was assessors, but if we can talk about that one then. Sure.
I just wanted to harken back to our tax rate hearing and a comment that was made during that hearing about the ability to move up that number from 5,000 to 10,000, perhaps for the benefit of small businesses, where we'll be having the Board of Assessors come back before we finalize this. I would just put that out there as something that, at least on my behalf, I'd be interested to hearing more about, whether they're open to increasing that and what the impact of what that would be, if it's something that could be considered, if they were going to take a vote on it. Are they firm on the 5,000? Would they, again, consider increasing that to 10,000? I just wanted to pin that as something I remember, at least from the tax rate hearing, and would like to hear more about from the Board of Assessors. Because I don't think these reflect final votes from the Board of Assessors. They're still deliberating. Yeah. Okay.
They're still deliberating, correct?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And I can put that bug in Kevin's ear as well, because I was surprised to see it at 5 and not 10 as well.
Yeah, we can
sure
when they come in, when we get closer to that time, and they want to look at these, we can get more detailed questions for them. I think at this point, it's just more like, what's on the radar.
Sure. Yep. So these the sort of financial ones are prior year bills, again, pretty normal.
Yep.
We do have some as of now. We'll have operating
Is it a
and
lot?
capital. I don't want to put them on the spot, but a department head on this call might.
It's okay. I mean,
know how much they are,
if you
so
had it, it's fine. But I just was curious if we had a number. Yeah, okay, it's fine. I mean, because we know these things happen, and it's usually the vendor likes to send us a bill late. So, all good.
We'll have the CPC appropriations.
Mhm.
Then we get into some of the potential ideas for free cash. So obviously, the capital stabilization fund and high school feasibility stand out. Right now, we do not have our free cash number certified. We actually started going back and forth with the Department of Revenue today, which is a great sign. We've sort of been poking them these past few weeks, asking for any status update.
Yep.
So we're probably looking at about $1 million in excess free cash, in excess of what was appropriated in the fall.
Yep.
So that gives us some wiggle room in terms of the high school feasibility figure that we need. Dr. Jordan estimates it at about $2.5 million based on some of our peers.
Yeah.
So again, who knows? Maybe we'll opt to not put anything in the capital stabilization fund and just move fully forward with the high school feasibility. But again, Ben, as you said, this is sort of just what could be on the radar.
We're just
We don't have to
spitballing
make
at
any
this point.
decisions right now.
Yeah.
We'd also
What is the 9 Green Street?
So 9 Green Street is additional recurring funding that we're going to need for monitoring mandated by the DEP James has wrapped up just about, I think. I don't know if it's officially wrapped up, but will be soon wrapped up with a lot of the associated construction work. But this is just for the monitoring, and that construction isn't the right word. It's, I guess, the mitigation work.
I think does it make sense? I mean, just along that, I mean, and I know it's kind of a minor thing here, but I think there's a line item in the select board budget for Marshall Street testing. And I just was wondering, does it make sense to kind of bundle those a little bit, rather than having in several separate places? It does, like, it doesn't matter to me where it goes, but like, just like if we're going to be testing for ongoing monitoring and things like that, I think we should just have sort of a consistency with the application.
No, that's a great point. It sort of doesn't really make sense to have one paid for out of free cash or one by the operating budget. So I can look at that as well.
If it's, you know, either one is fine, but it just sort of like, let's look at that and just, you know, if there's a particular difference and a reason why one should be in our budget and not, and then this one needs to be free cash because it's just a one-time thing, that's fine. But if it's an ongoing thing, I think we should loop it into that budget.
No, that makes total sense. And I'll get a number, and I think this 45,000 was going to cover us for not just this upcoming year, so I can get a better figure from James about, you know, what for the next 18 months would be good.
Okay.
And obviously we have the DPW on there as well. And there have been a lot of, obviously, discussions about department head salaries at the fall town meeting, so potential for a classic compensation study, but we can discuss that as we get a better idea of a more fine idea of what's going to be available free cash wise.
And once Cheryl's actually an employee and actually doing these things, you'll have a better sense of it. But having a placeholder, I think, is effective, and we still have time. We're not. Yep. But it's good to have it on the radar.
Yeah, and that will be a priority when I get there. I be ready to go on it.
Awesome. Great.
Okay, other sort of non-financial and non-routine matters. Town clerk converting that position from an elected to an appointed position. I've checked in with Liz on this a couple of different times. She is more than happy to discuss it with the board. So perhaps, you know, obviously a remote meeting like this was not the right time, but one of these. Yeah,
I'll try to sit down with her beforehand. I had some questions for her, and I can see where we're at, and then bring it to the board at a later date.
Bylaw review committee. I was actually supposed to. We were actually also Liz Greendale and I were supposed to meet with Allison Quinnen last week. That we ended up having to move. But Allison is sort of the resident who has sort of spearheaded interest in this topic, and I think when this board last discussed it, the decision was to sort of reserve judgment and see if this was something that would best move forward as a citizen's petition, or if the board wanted to have this as a board-sponsored article in May. So I think Allison's did a little bit more legwork. Liz Greendale and I were going to touch base with her, and at that point, probably a good idea for Liz and anyone else that she had been working with to come before the select board.
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion until we have some language in front of us. I'm conceptually in support, but I wanted to sort of understand what it looked like.
The row 35 and 36 are personnel bylaw related. So the first, and you know, Cheryl and I have already discussed some of these, and you know, some of them might be doable, some of them might not be. But amending our bylaws to make it more clear that sick time that employees have accrued would allow them to use that time to care for a sick family member, and then looking into employees who are working less than 19 hours, whether or not they should be accruing sick and vacation time as well, as they currently do. And then the last two on here are sewer district related. So their work has really ramped up in the past couple of weeks. We've had a lot of discussions with Liz Leiden at Mead Towerman as well about the sort of formal next steps that they need to take. So while the sewer commission itself has been created, we actually need to go back to town meeting and formally create a sewer district. We anticipate that it will just be the village commercial district, but regardless of where the lines fall, it needs to be formally approved by town meeting. And then for the actual infrastructure that will be coming from the Woodland plant down through the downtown, the town of Holliston will actually need to grant easements on the public way to the sewer commission in order to allow that infrastructure to be installed. So that should be a hopefully relative formality, but we need to do it nonetheless.
Now, one of the things that I know that we have to do at some point is the residents in the district would have to take a vote, a formal vote. And I think it might behoove us to have maybe before all this closes, just to kind of go through the sewer with the sewer commissioner, like what are the steps? So, to just to make sure we understand, all right, we're doing a public way. Because what I would hate to see us do is that we kind of do what happened in the 90s where they put a bunch of pipes in the ground and then nothing went anywhere. I'd hate for us to put a bunch of pipes in the ground with all this stuff going forward, and then the people in the area are like, we don't want anything to do with this. And then I just want to make sure that we're kind of, what are the steps? How are we going through this to make sure that we're kind of going through the right motions in the right way, so it's everybody understands what's happening and has agency throughout the process. So if we put like maybe reach out to the sewer commission and just sort of like invite them to come, maybe late February, early March sometime to kind of walk us through the whole process and where they're at and things like that. So that way we can understand, okay, these articles are now, then we have to do a vote at this time, we have to do these articles at this time, or it's just so we kind of understand how the process works. At least for my edification, at least I'm not, I'm just one of three here, but I think that it'd be a good idea because I know there's a lot of steps here.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. At their last meeting, we discussed the outreach that they're going to need to start performing to residents who will be, and business owners and others who will be, residing within the proposed district. So their work is really about to kick off. And we've had a lot of back and forth with Liz Leiden on this. There's actually no requirement, or the way that the election works is it's not actually an election within the district. But it is worth a more in-depth conversation with John or whoever from the sewer commission, or if the whole commission wants to join the select board at a future meeting. Again, especially since it'll be an opportunity to spotlight a lot of the public outreach that they're going to start doing very shortly.
I think we should.
So I'll talk to John about how he wants to handle that.
Okay.
And that's what I have right now.
I had a couple articles that I kind of had on my radar, and I was just curious if they're, if we should include anything here. Like, for example, I know Envisioning Future Holliston had a subcommittee looking at wellhead protection. I don't know if I imagine it might be a little aggressive for them to be ready for this, but I'm just curious if I hadn't heard from them if there was any timeline.
Yes, so they met last. That subcommittee met last on Thursday. They ended up having to reschedule their most recent meeting to Thursday. And one of the takeaways, I think, from the meeting from Thursday was that they were going to let me know sort of what their timeline was. So that could certainly end up on here. I think they're weighing right now, or at least going into that meeting, they were still weighing May versus October. Okay.
And then along that line too, there's some chatter about master planning, either an actual master plan or an article sort of guiding. But I think that it's just something I think we should just think about. But the planning board at the end of the day hasn't weighed in yet, so I think we want to wait for them before we include any of those articles into this process. And then the last one was a bylaw about snow plowing for private ways. Did we want to fully pursue that? I think that might be something we want to pursue in May. And if the board feels differently, please chime in. But I know we certainly had talked about it. And I would just add with the master plan, it's either updating the plan or a bylaw, or a bylaw for the planning board to schedule changes, something like that. Update by law or
actual funding.
update the actual plan. Just to put it on the radar. It doesn't mean we're doing it. The planning board still, I think, has to weigh in on that.
Yep.
And Tina, I see your hand raised here.
Yeah, I would just suggest that perhaps where we're talking about a warrant article, I total agreement with you, Ben. And I would suggest perhaps we invite the planning board to a select board meeting just to have a conversation to get it started. Is that
I would wait on that because EFH is trying to do that. So let's let them talk first, and then we can sort of see where that goes first.
Okay.
So I don't want to like create like, you know, if they're pushing back hard on what EFH is proposing, then maybe we chime in, or if they're in, you know, I think let's see how that plays out in the next couple of weeks before we do that. I do agree with you, but that process is kind of already underway.
You may have an update under public comment that'll explain more. So I'll wait till then. This is news to me about the Envision Future Holliston plan, but I can certainly wait till public comment when you probably had that ready to go for then anyway.
Yeah, I could give you more
Okay.
information.
All right. Thank you. Yep.
And Damon, do you have any comments here about the warrant?
No, I know there's still some information kind of bubbling up about the whole snow plowing private ways thing. So I agree it's worthy of a discussion. I think we're still kind of waiting for the receipts on some conversations there.
Yeah, I just want to keep it on the radar just to make sure like we can, you know, have the conversation and figure out what that looks like for us.
And Damon, too, I know that we had talked about the lemonade law. I'm still working through whether that's best through bylaw or actually like a Board of Health policy.
Very flexible on it.
Yeah. So I know you're all about results, not the how it, the means.
Yeah.
We need to do the how. I'm excited about it. It's all good.
Yeah, you don't need to know how the sausage gets made. We just want to make sure we have good product in the end.
Mm-hmm. So I'm still working on that one as well, but I just don't want you to think that I've lost sight of it.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Frank. Thanks, Damon. All right, let's move on to the calendar for budget warrant development.
Yes.
I know the Finance Committee had sent out their schedule for the next few weeks, and they did have the 28th as part of their schedule. And I've had a few members actually reach out to me, kind of excited about the fact that we're kind of inviting them to this. I think at the bare minimum for that event, we should invite them to be able to at least see the presentations, because at the end of the day, a lot of what happens in those finance committee meetings with these department heads is they watch the presentation. They get a presentation. It's like, if you come to this meeting, you're going to see the same thing. And it doesn't mean you don't have questions, but at the very least, they can be part of that presentation. So that way, when if they have to come in front of the finance committee, there might be some departments that don't have to come. And if they do, there's specific questions that are being addressed at that time. So and if the board feels differently, I'm all ears, but I think it's very important that our department, the department presentation to the select board includes an invitation to the finance committee to, at the very least, listen. And I think, we owe it to our department heads to give them the courtesy that they can only have to make the presentation one time, and then and the finance committee can listen on that presentation. Now, the wrinkle to that is that traditionally the finance committee has said that they don't want to hear budgets that have not been approved by the overseeing body. And I think this sort of puts us in a sort of a weird position, because it's like we'd be hearing for the first time, and the finance committee would be hearing it with us. But I think there's two sort of points to make about this, and that is, the first is that while trying to honor that is reasonable, all of the information would be available online, so people can review it in advance and see all that information in addition. And then the second thing here is the fact that because we have an additional role to play in this budget process beyond just simply approving department budgets, we're also creating a budget and making sure that we're weighing in on things and changes and such. There's already another touch point that's already built into the process. So I'm interested if everybody's comfortable with allowing the finance committee to participate. And we can sort of couch that like, hey, we haven't voted on these budgets. We haven't seen this presentation from the department heads, but we can give some sort of de facto, hey, you guys are invited. You can participate. You can listen in on the conversations. And I'm interested to hear what you two think about it, if you're comfortable with that. See,
I'm happy. I'm
Tina,
happy
do you
to
have any?
chat. I'm all for transparency. I kind of think one of the things that bothers me the most is when there appears to be like a surprise late in the process. So as long as kind of the idea is to have information be distributed kind of openly with the vulnerability of like, hey, this isn't something that we're completely ready for. We haven't seen all these numbers. I think that's fine, especially in the pursuit of removing gotchas. My only ask would be that anyone who participates also kind of is equally transparent with what they're seeing and what they're thinking. Like I would hate for us to extend this kind of like open invite and then have it kind of being used against us is the wrong terminology, but kind of like actually percolating into more problems later when our goal here is to make it so that we're all working a lot more closely and a lot more fluidly for the town.
Okay. Tina?
My comment is more practical. They are long days. It is a long day. We've done this now 2-3 times in the past. So we'll just have to keep a close eye on more voices important and welcome. We'll just have to keep an eye on time so that we're ending it in a day.
We can kind of work through that, and I'll talk to Ken. I mean, things been a little busy lately for everybody, so I'm going to try to reach out to Ken this week to sort of go through it with him, what he's comfortable with from his side. And as I said, I had a couple members of the finance committee who are kind of excited about being able to do this to sort of like reduce sort of the workload throughout the year, given the opportunity here. And so we can kind of figure out what that looks like to make sure that, Tina, you're absolutely right. It's a long day. And if we allow an extra 5 minutes for each budget, suddenly that's going to turn into hours of time. And I don't want to do that. But there's also, we all know there's numerous budgets that are very couple lines, not a lot here. Increases very straightforward. So there's quite a few budgets here that I think we'd be able to knock out and save everybody time and energy by hearing the same information. So I think there's sort of a middle path here that we can do that. It might be, maybe some of the bigger ones, like maybe like, the public safety and DPW, maybe we don't allow them to have questions. They can sit and listen to those things because those are more complicated budgets, and maybe it's like the smaller ones who, maybe have 1 or 2 questions, or we can make it as simple as, we know what the finance committee is going to ask. They want to know about the changes. We just say to every department head before they give the presentation, hey, we don't need you to walk through every line in your department budget, but tell us what the changes are and what's causing that. It could be as simple as that. And then we could probably get ahead of most of the questions. Because that's generally the nature of the questions I find in those finance committee meetings that are for the smaller budgets. So, but if everybody's kind of comfortable with that, I'm going to and in the 28th, everybody's still good with.
Well, that was my other question. Are we firm on the 28th? Yes, I have it marked off on my calendar, but I would fill it in a heartbeat if we weren't doing this hearing. So let's say we're firm on the 28th. I
am. I think we are. Damon, are you?
I think we are. What do we think the actual time spread is going to be there?
It's generally it's been like 9 to like 3 or 4. It's a long day. That includes a lunch break too. And we just I'll look at what it was last year, and we can probably get pretty close to that alignment that we had for last year. And then we just have to kind of hold people accountable to like, hey, you got this much time, please, work through it as quickly as possible. If there's smaller budgets and things, we don't need, every detail. We have the write up and things like that, but we can have the opportunity if there's things they want to share and things like that too. To make sure that we're honoring everybody's and we're not pushing everybody back a little bit. But if that's the case, the 28th, we'll reach out. I'll talk to Ken and get some, we'll figure out some of the things that he wants to do. Like I said, stock questions, or, I'd probably prefer that if we know that this is going to be the nature of the questions. We'll just make sure that the presentation that is given by the department head includes answers to those questions. And we probably get ahead of, 80-90% of the questions that could come forward. Um, but and so any other comments about the timeline here? I think other big thing that we have to keep in mind right now is the when we have to close the ballot. We have to make sure that we have a ballot question. So if we have a DPW ballot question, I don't expect a feasibility for the schools, but if we did have to, we have to make sure that we have an answer by, I think it was 35 days ahead of the election, I believe is the number.
Thought it was 45, but your
I
point's
think she
a
said
good
it was
one.
35. I thought
Okay.
it was 35.
I believe it was
Was it?
35 as well. And I thought we put it
Yeah, I
on
think it was
this.
like April 14th or something is the kind of the number that's in my head.
Yes. Wow. On the money. April 14th. Yep.
Okay. And so I think we have to keep that that date particularly in mind. And then the other thing I had included in there was an extra meeting. It's penciled in. I'm not saying we have to have it, but just sort of to give ourselves a little bit of time because we are meeting by twice a month, just to make sure that we have enough time to be able to review these things. The other thing I will mention is that I want to make sure that the town meeting warrants and the budget are on every one of our agendas until town meeting. That doesn't mean that we're going to do anything per se. But this gives us an opportunity if there's a discussion point or something new comes up, we have that flexibility to be able to have that conversation. And so the answer could just be, yes, we have the warrant. Nothing has changed. We don't have anything really to discuss tonight, and that's fine. So just to give everyone a heads up on that. Before we wrap up on town meeting, I know this is kind of a lot of information, but is there any other questions or thoughts here before we move on to the next section? Okay, great. All right, we're going to move on to communication to other elected boards regarding Town Hall Digest. Did everybody have a chance to look at the letter? And I'll jump at once.
Yes, I did. I have no issues with it. Looks good.
Okay. How about Damon?
If you were looking for feedback, I'm great with it.
So this would just be for other elected boards, correct?
Yes, at this time we're sending a letter to those elected boards. I think the only thing I would add is just make sure we have like a link to it to sort of say like, here's how to access it, here's what it looks like, anything like that.
Yep. Sorry, I didn't actually put that there was a here in there that I didn't actually put the link in, so I apologize.
That's fine. That's fine. And then I think let's send that out. And I think, my instinct is, and people can tell me if I'm being too aggressive here, is that the boards that we appoint, we kind of just tell them we want them, they need to participate in this. But I didn't want to speak out of school. So, Tina, Damon, are you comfortable with us doing that? Because I do think that they should, and I think we have the ability to tell them they should. But I also wanted to sort of hear your thoughts too.
I'm all for it. I feel like most of these are going to have minutes or some note taking, obviously. So why not share that with the broader public? I'm for it.
Are we still, even with this rollout of the letter and asking other boards and committees to participate in this way, are we still in a pilot period, or would you say the pilot period's over? Because if we're still kind of figuring it out, I have no issue with.
I mean, honestly, like I review I review it, but it seems fine to me. Like I haven't seen any issues really with what's come forward.
Well, we'll hear back. I mean, if
yeah,
for whatever reason it doesn't work out well, we'll hear back and we'll amend.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, like we're asking, like, we're going to give them the thing. We're not asking them, hey, we need you to write up a page every week. We're literally going to hand it to them and just say, can you review this? And that's to try to make it we're trying to make it as simple as possible for everybody. And I think The people I've spoken to about it seem like, hey, that's a great idea. That seems like makes total sense. It's not minutes, but it gives you, kind of a sense of what's going on. So I would like to say to the boards that we appoint, all 6,000 of them, whatever the number is, I forget. If we could tell them all, please, this is coming. Maybe we say like March 1st or something like that. I don't know. Like we give them little bit of a runway to say, hey, as of this time, we expect you. Here's, maybe we start sending them their recaps and saying like, you can participate immediately, but as of March 1st or something like that, we're going to demand it. I mean, not demand, but you need to do it at that time. But at least in the interim, we can send it to them and say, here it is. Take a look at it. If you have any issues, please bring them forward. We'll give you a couple weeks of runway before it's required.
Like
What do you
using
guys think?
town email. Yeah. Like this is a part of the responsibility you have as a member of this
Yeah,
committee.
I think, and it's like I said, we're not asking that. We're asking a minimal amount of effort. I think actually one other little thing, Frank, in the letter, could we just change it to say rather than that the chair has to review, the chair or designee or designated individual. It doesn't necessarily have to be the chair who does it. It could be anybody else.
Yep.
Perfect. I'm excited. I think it's a good idea, and I'm hopeful some of these other boards that are elected will get involved. And I think once we start rolling it out and getting more um, into it, people are going to start asking, why is this board not in there? Ask them. So, any final thoughts for anybody about that? Cool. Excellent. Using AI for good. Next up, we have a request to overspend the snow and ice budget. Really, why? I guess so. The question I have is, how much have we spent so far? And I forget what our budget is. I think it's 300,000, but
I believe it's
250.
I can double check but we actually aren't over just yet. So it's 250,000 for fiscal year 27, and will be that way for the foreseeable future. But we are fairly confident with this most recent storm, or the storm we're in the middle of, I guess, however you want to look at it, that we will be over after today or tomorrow. And there is more snow in the forecast, unfortunately, already. So a motion to allow deficit spending in the snow and ice removal budget would be much appreciated for fiscal year 26.
And I think hopefully we'll cross our fingers that maybe this big one that we just had, that maybe the state might help us a little bit on this one.
That would be nice.
But I know they don't always help us on some of the smaller ones as we go over. But of course, we need to go over and we need to be able to do this. So this is kind of a formality. We obviously would pay for it with free cash in May if needed. Probably be the easiest way to do it.
Another warrant article.
Yep. I will entertain a motion to, yes, Dan.
We don't typically do a not to exceed on this.
No.
Yeah,
We shouldn't, because then we'd have to vote again if we want to do it again. So we just allow for to go over.
I have a motion ready if you'd like it. Move to approve deficit spending in the snow and ice removal budget for fiscal year 26.
Seconded.
All right. We'll take a roll call vote. Tina?
Yes.
Damon?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So that passes. Excellent. Great. Moving on to public comments. And this is where the board has our own time to be able to make comments. So at this time, if there's anyone on the Zoom who'd like to make a public comment for the board, you can raise your hand under the reaction button, and you can speak up and let us know what your comment is. I'm not seeing anyone raising their hand at this time. If we missed you and by some chance and you're not at your desk and you want to have a public comment at a future for a future agenda, please don't hesitate to also reach out to the town manager's office, Donna Muzzy, and let her know. And this is for public comment in your subject or in the email, and we'll make sure that we read it at a future agenda. Great. Okay. Select board member updates. I'll just do one real quick one. And I have others, but I'm going to preempt a little bit and just sort of say, like, I want to give a big shout out to our DPW who worked very hard this weekend. That was a big storm and there was a lot going on. There was pre-treating, there was treating, there was all sorts of things happening. And this one was a hard one because it was big, and sometimes fluffy snow can be challenging because it gets everywhere and blows around. But I wanted to say thank you to the DPW for your hard work, and we really appreciate all the things that you do to keep us safe and to keep our roads clear. So thank you very much. And I have other comments, but I'm going to kick it over to Tina for your updates for the board.
Nicely said, Ben. Totally agree. First, I want to just circle back around to our top of the agenda item with the bike park, the bike path being a designated bike route. And tag on to that local tourism. We are a bike friendly town. We are a bike focused town, and some may say a bike obsessed town. So I wanted to put a plug in for the Holliston Bike Park project. They are working very hard to do some fundraising for that project. So if folks are interested, and I really hope this gets into the Town Hall Digest, there is a GoFundMe page. It is the Help Build the Holliston Bike Park GoFundMe page for those who would like to contribute to a capital campaign of sorts for the purpose of a bike park here in Holliston. This board is.
Can you could you just like send that over, like a link to that, just to make sure we have it right, so we can put it into the digest?
Sure. Yep, I will do that.
I'm never going to remember.
Yeah, and this board has supported all aspects of this bike park development, so it feels really appropriate to also support the capital campaign that the Holliston Bike Park folks are doing. I wanted to say that we were invited casually at this point, although perhaps formally, to come to join the Boston MPO and Walk Massachusetts in a pilot project to do a walk audit here
could
in
you
Holliston.
tell us what the NPO stands for?
The Metropolitan Planning Organization. We have interacted with them before. We are currently interacting with them on the Whitney Street, Washington Street intersection design. But the Boston MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, is also doing Vision Zero work. And I'm on that task force, and I've been reporting back to the board periodically. Through that effort, we've been invited to be considered for a pilot walk audit, where Walk Massachusetts would come to Holliston and do a walk audit of a section of our road network that is considered a high injury network. Much more to come. Not committing the board to anything. Certainly wouldn't do that without bringing it here anyway, but just wanted to say that is spinning in the background. So keep our ears and eyes honed on that. And then two other items real quick here. There is a downtown neighborhood meeting happening on Thursday, February 4th at 3 p.m. in the select board meeting room to discuss how things are working related to a business in the downtown area. This is a positive step. This is a chance to engage, to find solutions for a happy downtown neighborhood. So I'm sharing it here if folks are interested in coming, if you're a resident of the downtown area, Thursday, February 4th at 3 p.m. And then finally,
is the EDC aware of that meeting?
They are indirectly. Their chair is included in this information.
Say no more. Just
yep.
Thank you.
And then finally, real quick, for a future agenda item, really more than anything, we have a request from a resident who would like to see the select board take up some planning for the 250th this July 4th. So we can perhaps have an agenda item about it in the future, but the request is simple. It is, can we please display the American flag on all town properties for a period of time around the 250th? So that proposal is sitting in Frank's inbox and mine as well, and I think it's deserving of a future agenda item, but I just want to share here that a resident had reached out, and I think the select board could definitely consider that type of a request at a future date. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Damon.
Yeah, I'll just add on to the thank you for the DPW. I was up very late during the snowstorm, just walking my dog and taking a look at the neighborhood because I was concerned about passability, et cetera. And the plows were out there constantly taking care of the place. And all I can say is thank you for that. And I wanted to pass on just personal thanks, Ben, somewhat to you, but to everyone involved in this conversation about just being really open about the financing and budget options that we've got. I think opening up the dialogue like this shows an immense amount of maturity. And as I've sat through, years of watching town meeting and the soft acrimony that can accidentally appear between the finance committee and various parts of the select board and those committees that we appoint, I think it's a really strong move to say, hey, let's come together and see this information together and early. So for whatever that's worth, thank you.
Sure. My pleasure. Thank you. Damon, are you good? Is that it? Okay. Couple updates. Envisioning Future Holliston met, I guess it was last week. I'm trying to remember what week it was. We met and did discuss briefly a proposed bylaw for updating the master plan frequently. Tina, thank you for putting that in the chat. Perfect. Basically there was interest on the part of Envisioning Future Holliston to talk about it, but the next steps are to work with the planning board because it affects them directly. So we want to make sure that they have a sort of an opportunity to chime in and listen and talk to us a little bit about it. So Envisioning Future Holliston is working on getting them enlisted to meet in a future agenda. The chair of the Envisioning Future Holliston is also on the planning board, so there's a little synergy there, but at the same time, it's 1 out of the 6 members, so wanting to get that together. And then I also I apologize for the timing delay with the sending you the evaluation for the town manager. That's on me. I should have fixed that. I should have been ahead of that. So I hope you were able
No
to
worries,
look at
Ben.
it.
It's okay.
Thank you. Just make sure if you haven't submitted it yet, please get it out to the town clerk as soon as you can, and she'll compile it hopefully for next week. And then my intention is I'll sit down with Frank to go through everything with him at that time, and I can report back on the 9th, which is shaping up to be a busy meeting. My next update is over the weekend. I was part of the group that was interviewing superintendent candidates. It was a very interesting, informational opportunity for me. I learned a lot from the experience, and I think there's 3 great candidates that are coming forward for superintendent. Their names, I'll make sure that I read them to you just so you can hear them. And why don't I have that email? But it was James Kimo Carter from Weston. He's an assistant superintendent in Weston. Jen Parson she is the superintendent in Plainville. And then Tim McCormick, who is the superintendent in North Brookfield. You can go on and check out their information. I think they're wonderful candidates, and I'm looking forward to the community getting a chance to talk to them. And they're going to be coming in the next few days to meet with members of the community, members of the schools, and then the school committee in the evening. And I believe they're slated to vote at this time next week for a new superintendent. That's my understanding at this time, and my intention is to go to that meeting. So I'm planning to be at that meeting to support, listen, be a part of that process. And so I wanted to sort of update everybody on that, and also say thank you to the school committee for inviting me. I think it was nice to be a part of, and I really appreciate being a part of that process from that perspective. Last thing I have is that I'm also talking to the school committee chair, but just trying to get sort of like a rough idea about a school building committee. Obviously, there's a more deep, dense work that needs to be done, but just basically to present from our two boards' perspective, getting a working group together to talk about it, to sort of iron out what it looks like, what that group could look like, and a charge for that group that can be evaluated by our boards. So hopefully we'll have something on the 9th that we can look at and agree on. And I'd like to try to get a turnaround that's fairly quick, so by like mid-March, trying to have something that's up and running that we can really get get things moving on, so that way we can have their input in time for town meeting for a feasibility study. I think that's kind of important to do. So we're going to be kind of looking for a little bit of a tight turnaround, but also just trying to keep that group nimble. So it'll probably be one member from this board, and then maybe like one or a couple members of the school committee to kind of work through some of the details, and then give it to the boards and present it to the respective boards at some point in March is my hope. But I also want to iron that out with the school committee chair, and I'll have that information for you on February 9th, which is shaping up to be, we got water rate hearing, we got DPW. So it's going to be a busy meeting, but there's a lot of important work that we're involved in at this time. So that's all I have right now for my update. And now we get to hear a little bit more from Frank, because we got the Frank show. So first, I think we've got warrants. So Frank, if you could update us with the warrants.
Yes. So we have had 3 actually, because we had a revised warrant from January 12th. So the first one totals $1,864,045.79. That's dated January 12th. A revision on January 12th for a flat $2,100. And then a third warrant dated January the 20th, $2,294,043.56. I also want to note that we received a very generous donation from Wolf & Company to the Youth and Family Services Department, so thank you to them. And a thank you to Polly Patterson, who donated $200 to the center for new billiard sticks and a peg coat rack. And I know that the billiard table down there gets a lot of use.
How much was the first donation for?
$1,000.
Oh, very generous.
Yep, $1,000.
Awesome. Appreciate that generosity. Now we'll move on from warrants to comments from the town manager. Frank, do you have any updates for us this week?
Yeah, just a couple. I'll also echo the thanks to DPW. I know that they were out early on Sunday. I think they went home probably just a couple hours ago, just to be back at it tomorrow morning. So thank you to them. A couple of other storm-related reminders. The on-street parking ban is still in effect, which means street parking is not permitted as of now until 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. So please clear your cars off the road if they are on there now, to let DPW with plows and the rest of responders to do their work in clearing the roads. Due to the storm, E.L. Harvey is delaying trash pickup this week by 1 day. So there was no pickup today, obviously. Monday pickup will be on Tuesday. Tuesdays will be on Wednesday, etc. We also had a number of residents who were missed by E.L. Harvey last week. Their pickup was scheduled to take place on Saturday. They had an issue with one of their trucks. So if you are one of those affected residents, your pickup will now be on Tuesday. I apologize for the inconvenience. E.L. Harvey has assured us it will take place on Tuesday, but please feel free to reach out to the town manager's office for additional information. I will also note that we literally just decided this before coming on. Town buildings will open at 10:30 tomorrow. We're going to give a couple more hours to the DPW folks and allow everyone, town hall staff and other staff across town, some extra time to get into work tomorrow. But all town buildings are expected to open at 10:30 tomorrow morning. I believe we just posted that to Facebook as well. We talked a little bit about this earlier in the meeting, but beginning with the most recent edition, the Town Hall Digest now includes department spotlights. These articles will highlight topics of timely interest, personnel, and events within Town Hall and other departments with the goal of making local government more accessible. This month's departmental spotlight is the assessors, which we thought was timely given that property tax bills were sent out at the beginning of the month. And next month, we plan to feature the Holliston Police Department. Please go to the town's website to subscribe to the Town Hall Digest, which includes AI-generated summaries and in-depth meeting recaps of select board meetings with more boards and committees soon to join, and key dates and deadlines for community members to be aware of. Another community update, the developers of the proposed 40B project on Lowland Street have officially filed their project application with the Zoning Board of Appeals, with public hearings expected to begin in February. Please monitor the project's webpage, which is linked directly on the front page of the town's website, for updates and additional information. Last Thursday, I spent the morning with the Dull Men's Club. We had a very engaging conversation. It was a really, really great time. I had been joking with Ed Payne for a couple months now that I was jealous that Tyler, I'm not even going to say his last name on live Zoom television or whatever we're on. He had already hosted 2 sessions, and Chief Cassidy had gone once, so he finally let me in. I went last Thursday meeting. We had a really, really good time. I had a good time anyway. We had a really wide ranging of topics that we covered. I'm looking forward to going back just before town meeting in May to cover topics that will be in the warrant with that group. They were certainly very interested in a lot of things going on in town. That group was also recently featured in the Boston Globe. So if you haven't checked out that article, I really encourage you to do so. I really want to thank Ed for allowing me to attend, but also to bringing sort of I would call it a movement to Holliston. It's pretty amazing. For more info on the DMC, you can reach out to Ed or get in touch with staff at the center, who I'm sure can connect you with him. Just a really, really fun time. Next Friday, February the 6th, I am headed to the food pantry to serve at the 2026 Super Bowl event, with soup very generously donated from many local businesses, so thank you to all of them. The event takes place at St. Mary's from 5 to 8 p.m., and again, that is Friday, February 6th. You can visit the food pantry's website for more information. That is the town manager update for January 26, 2026. The select board will meet next on February 9th. As Ben mentioned, it will be a very busy meeting, and during that meeting, we will hold the water rate hearing for fiscal year 27 and cover a number of other topics. And that is my town manager update.
Any questions for the town manager? Okay. Thank you very much, Frank. We have a consent agenda. Is everybody comfortable with the items that they want to leave them in the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve this evening's consent agenda as presented.
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor, Tina?
Yes.
Damon?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So the consent agenda is approved. And finally, we have other business. Does anybody have any other business this evening?
I
Tina?
have two quick items. Number one, we got a draft letter from the Historical Commission looking for, I'm not sure if it was the board to take action, or Frank, that would be something that you would do without board involvement, but it was basically a very lovely written letter to the 4 property owners of homes that were found to be of historic value. So is that something the board needs to take action on, or are we all set?
I think we're all set. I think we've all kind of approved that it's reasonable to go forward, that's the go forward. And if it's coming from the town, I think Frank can manage it. If it's coming from the assessors, he can work with them, or
Right.
from building, from land use department.
Okay.
In my
And then
opinion.
that sounds great. The second thing was DPW building committee. Are we waiting on an update on establishing that? And
We're doing it on the 9th. We basically
Okay.
we bundled all the things because we're going to have we're going to have Weston and Sampson come in that day,
Yep.
and then so we bundled it to just sort of put them all together. So that's going to.
Forgive me if you've already said this during the past hour and a half and I just missed it, hour 45 minutes, but it is snowing a lot out my window, so my eyes keep getting pulled away as I look. But anyway, are we looking to appoint on the 9th, or just to create the charge and set it up?
I think we're going to have create the charge, because I think we have to open it up to see who's
Yep.
going to apply.
Perfect. All right. Thank you.
Yep. Damon, do you have any other business?
None for me, sir. I am good.
Frank?
None for me. Thank you very much.
I do not. Cheryl, thank you very much for coming this evening. I would ask you if you had other business, but you're not officially on the
Thank you.
in your position yet. So, we appreciate you coming and listening to us this evening. And
My pleasure.
I think with that, we can take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn remote participation at 8:45 p.m.
Seconded.
All right. All those in favor, Tina,
Yes.
Damon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So we are adjourned at 8:45. And thank you very much for joining us this evening. Stay warm and safe out there. And our next meeting will be on February 9th, where we'll have the DPW and in to talk a lot about lots of DPW things. So we'll have a busy agenda at that time. So please have a wonderful one and go Patriots.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.